Hello again, everyone. I recently mentioned on the channel that I was going to try to downscale the number of pens that I use at any given time, fountain pens that is, and I have made a selection of 9 pens, I believe, that I'm going to be using until the ink runs out on them. Anytime one of them runs out of ink, I will replace it with a different one. And then my plan is to first off, clean the pens when they run out of ink. So that way I'm only doing one at a time. And if there are some pens that I find that I just really don't like, I think that it might be time to part with them. So let's go ahead and get in here. So this little roll case is by Hand Stitch Leather Tea. I'll put their website down below. I haven't been there in a little while, so I don't know how often they're stocking the shop or if that's sort of a constant thing now, because they only used to do batch stocking. So, but I'll put the link down below so you can check that out. But this is actually a very nice case, and the reason why I chose this case for this is because it's the one that was empty at the time. Because all of my other, well, most of my other pen cases are filled with pens. So let's go ahead and get in here. Oh, sorry, lawn mowing outside. Okay, and I do have a sheet of Tomoe River paper off to the side so that I can test all of these for you. And that is the old Tomoe River paper, so I'm still using that while I have it. The Sanzen Tomoe River paper, I did find out, sorry about that, I did find out that the paper that I got from Sanzen may actually have been sort of the intermediary new Tomoe River paper, because they were selling their leftover stock of that until they start selling their new stuff. So I cannot verify that the one that I tested recently on the channel is actually the new Sanzen paper. So I'm gonna kind of hold off on any paper purchases for a while until I know what's going on there. But all that is to say, the piece of paper that I have here to test these pens is the old Tomoe River paper. All right, so as you can see, I picked 9 pens. I probably could fit one more in here, but I kind of wanted them to not get scuffed up in here. And actually, one thing that I did find is there clearly was some excess glue in the folds here, and some glue did get on this, but you can kind of still see the residue a little bit there. It came right off, but you know, I was a little surprised by that because I've used this before, but it just didn't seem to come off on other pens. Anyway, let's start. I'm gonna show you what they are, and then I'm gonna do the testing. So first off, we have this Pelikan M800, which I really, really love. It has a double broad nib. Or is it just a broad nib? No, it's just a broad nib. For some reason, I thought it was double broad. And probably part of the reason why I thought that is because it does have a little bit of a stub-like quality, and that's part of the reason why I really love this pen. And I'll tell you what the inks are when I test them, but that one has one of my favorites in it. And then I chose the 1911 large with the medium nib by Sailor. It's just regular old medium nib, the 21 karat. And I did kind of try to keep my nicer pens in these individual pockets, but you know, they're all nice pens, but and one of them actually has a nicer material on the nib. And then this is by Pilot. This is the Model 2. This is Heritage, yes, 92. Custom Heritage 92. And this is the piston fill model that they make. And I actually really, really love this pen, and I have not been using it certainly as much as I should. This particular one has a fine nib, which I actually think is a beautiful fine nib. So that's part of the reason why I added it to this selection, because I wanted to use it more. But I've realized that I haven't really profiled Pilot pens on the channel. I really, really love them. The nibs are fantastic, and they're completely different than Sailor, so they're not really and Platinum. So Platinum, Pilot, and Sailor are kind of the top 3 Japanese pen brands, and I like all three of them. I would say nib-wise, if I had to rank them, I would probably rank Pilot at the top, just because it does have super smooth, nice nibs for the most part. And then I would probably put Sailor in second and Platinum in third, but it's all really close. But they're all different. They're all different animals, so they kind of have their own things going on with them. One of the things that I really don't like about Pilot, which is not true of this one, is I do not like their converters. I think they are the worst converters in the world. I don't know why they can't design a better converter for their otherwise fabulous pens. But this pen obviously gets rid of that problem because it's a piston fill. And unfortunately, I've only been able to find a couple of colors in this piston fill. I think they make a black one and then this clear one. And I'm not sure they make many color variations. So if they did, I would probably buy more of the piston fill versions because I do prefer that over the converter fill. And then this is an old favorite. This is an Opus 88 Picnic in the brown color, and I have a Masuyama broad cursive italic on here, which is a really great cursive italic. It is a size 5 nib, so it's the smaller of the two nib options. So part of the reasons why I chose these pens, I wanted good variety. So I have fine, medium, and broad over here. And then in each category, I kind of tried to do that. So these are actually like my fancy, nice, higher end pens. You know, they vary. Pelican's clearly more expensive than the rest. And then just sort of some less expensive pens here, but also in a variety of sizes. So this is a broad. You'll see this is sort of like a medium, and this one's a true fine. And then I put 3 different hand-turned pens, but really with these, it's all about the nib. And I do like, I mean, these are some of my favorite hand-turned pens aesthetically as well, but you can swap the nibs in and out on them. Anyway, going back, so this is an Esterbrook SD, which I really like as a pen. It's actually, I'm kind of surprised at how well these do not dry out. The Pocket, I think it's called the Pocket Junior, I think, which I also really, really love, but they do tend to dry out. But these SDs don't, at least not for me, they don't dry out very often. So what I have on this one is a vintage Esterbrook nib. 2668 is the number. So I have the vintage converter here. And this is just a lovely vintage nib. I'd say of all the vintage nibs I have from Esterbrook, that one is my favorite for sure. And then this is a Bennu Minima, and I've forgotten the color that this is. It's like berry forest or something like that. It seems very Christmassy because of the colors, but I love it all year round. And this one does have a fine nib on it. And this is actually a really lovely fine nib. This Bennu has the smaller size nib. The Euphoria and things like that have a larger nib on them. But I wanted to include at least one smaller pen in my selection, so this is the one I chose. I almost put a Kaweco Sport, All Sport in here, and then I changed my mind at the last minute. Okay, and so these are the hand-turned pens. So this is by Birmingham Pen Company, and I think this is the Barbados color. They don't do many updates for selling their pens. They have their ink pretty much all the time, which is lovely as well. But their pens come and go. They do them in small batches. And I have a Nemesine 0.6 stub. This is a size 6 nib on here. And this is also a really, really lovely nib. The last I checked, Birmingham Pens does carry just the nib units. Or no, I'm sorry, just the nibs without the unit. So you could get this and put it in another pen that takes a size 6 nib, because that is a really beautiful, beautiful nib. All right, and then here's sort of my other fancy one in my hand-turned pens. So this is by River City Pen Company, and this is a Brooks Blanks in Water Lily Koi. And then I have a Bach Fine Palladium nib on here. And I just wanted to try writing with that more because it's a really, really lovely nib. And then here I have one from Signature Pen Company, which is, I think the blank is by Crow, I think. It's an abalone, a faux abalone, obviously. And then here I have one of my all-time favorite nibs, which is the Nib Grinder Micro Architect on a size 6. So you'll see here in a minute the variety that I have here. And I think I mentioned in prior videos that I was going to give myself a little bit of leeway. And if for some reason I found that I did not like writing with any of these, I would give myself some leeway to swap it out. I got a little piece of paper on my desk there. But otherwise, I'm going to stick with these until they run out of ink. And there's a couple in here that have a pretty big ink capacity, actually probably 3. So the Pelican being one of them, the M800, because it is a piston fill. So I did, most of these I refilled when I put them in here, but some of them already, there were 2 actually, that had a fair amount of ink in them. So I just left them as that and didn't put extra ink in. And I'll tell you which ones those are when I get there, but I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. And I'm not going to move my camera because I have a bunch of other things on my desk, but let's do it there. And, you know, I probably tested most of these pens, if not all. Well, no, there's a few I haven't on the channel, but I did want to sort of give you the the full package of the ones that I have inked up now. So this is the, I love this nib. M800. This is the brown stripe, maybe? With a broad nib. And this is just beautiful. I love it. The ink, and actually let me, so I did, there's clearly a broader downstroke than side stroke. It's kind of subtle, but I really, really love this pen because of that. So this ink is the ink that I think I've had in here since I got it, which is the Linen Toolbar. And let me look, it's Wenshan Puchong T, which I really, really love. Oh, you can see it puts down a lot of ink, especially on the Tomoe River. So that glare will go away shortly once it dries. But this particular one is really, really lovely. It's sort of a green neutral-ish ink, and I just love it. And the combination with this pen, perfect, because it's almost like a brown, but it's got like a greenish brown, and it flows so nicely in this pen. Okay, so on to the Sailor 1911 large, and I think I've mentioned on the channel before. So I am going to post the pens that post, but like with the Pelican M800, it might not always be the most comfortable to post. So, you know, but I'm going to post them just to keep them out of the way. Oh, so what I was saying is I think I probably said on the channel before that I prefer the large out of the 1911 series. I just feel like it has a better feel in my hand. The nib is also a little, it's 21 karat as opposed to 14K, and I just really like it. Okay, so this is the Sailor. Oh boy, it's been a long time since I've written with this a lot. It's really nice. The 1911 large with a medium nib. And this is just in black. They come out with special editions and all that, but I got this at a super steal on Amazon, which does happen occasionally. So I'd say if you're looking for something like that, especially with sailors, like keep an eye out. Lovely. And then this, what ink is this? This is, okay, this is Sailor, because I wanted to do it justice in this pen. Sailor Manyo Yomagi, which is one of my all-time favorite Sailor inks. Okay, and even though the next pen is a Pilot, I also have a Sailor ink in here, which is, I'd say, a close runner-up to my favorite. So one of the things I like about the Pilot is that it's very well balanced when posted. Well, at least this one is. The nib is a little smaller than some other brands. Actually, let me see how it compares to the Pilot 1911 large. Yeah, the 1911 large is a little bit, oops, sorry, you can't really see that very well, is a little bit bigger. Not a ton, but this nib, gorgeous. So this is the Pilot. Even though it's super fine, it's super smooth. And this is the Custom Heritage 92 with a fine nib. And this is the same nib that is on the, oh, what's the one that has all the different colors? 74? Custom 74? Yeah, this is the same nib that comes on the Custom 74s. And then this ink is Sailor's Sailor. I always think that's such a fun name for an ink. You're just gonna put Sailor in there and put an S, an apostrophe S. But yeah, this is like a really beautiful true blue color. If you want something that's sort of classy yet standard. And you know, it was a limited edition, so I don't even know if that ink is available anymore, quite honestly. Okay, so now on to the Opus 88 Picnic. And I did get this going just yesterday when I filled it. Or actually, no, this is the one of the ones that I did not fill, which is why I had to try and get it going. So this one is a dropper fill, which does require that you unscrew a little bit of the back in order to get the ink to flow to the nib. And this is actually postable with that done, and it works fine, and it's a pretty good size. And then this is the, yeah, there we go. Opus 88 Picnic. Oh, I love this nib. In brown with a Matsuyama, is it Matsuyama? Actually, Matsuyama, okay. With a Matsuyama broad cursive italic nib. And then the ink I have in here is Ackerman. I was trying to remember the name. Ackerman SBRE Brown, which definitely is one of my all-time favorite browns. But yeah, look at that nib variation. Beautiful. And this makes my writing look a lot nicer than it can. And so you could either leave it this way when you're storing it, but it could, it's never leaked on me, but it could. But you know, I just sort of out of habit, I try to close this more often than not, but it's not a requirement. Okay, and then we have the Esterbrook SD, and I think this is the Blueberry, I want to say. I feel like it's kind of the least interesting of some of the colors that I have from Esterbrook. And this is one where it's a little bit awkward posted. It does post, but it's sometimes can get loose, and it's a little back heavy with that. All right, but this is the Esterbrook. Oh, this is a great nib too. Esterbrook SD in Blueberry with a vintage, it's 2668, I believe. Let me double check. 2668, yeah, 2668 nib. And then what ink is in here? This is, okay, so this is Diamine Pelham Blue. This was in the Guitar series, and it's a really beautiful blue. So you can see there's slightly narrower side stroke than downstroke on this one, and it's just really smooth and beautiful. I love it. And this was actually the other pen that was in this thing that was already inked. So it's not 100% full in the converter, so you know, this may have a propensity to run out sooner, but it was almost, it was enough in there basically that I left it. But every other pen I refilled. Okay, and now we have the Bennu, and the Bennu does not post. So you have to write with this little pen, which actually works okay for my hand, but if you had bigger hands, you'd probably have a hard time. And it feels super light in the hand. Okay, so this is the Bennu Minima. You can probably hear a little bit more, excuse me, a little more feedback with this fine nib. But it's really kind of nice and bouncy. I really like it. Fine nib. And then the ink here is Diamine. Is this Noel? Yeah, it's Noel. And another lovely nib. Okay, 3 more to go. This is the Birmingham with the 0.6 stub. And I also like the design on the nib. It's kind of pretty. This looks like an owl or something. So this is the Birmingham Pen Company, Barbados, I think, with 0.6 stub. Okay, and then this is another Linen Toolbar ink. This is Linen Toolbar. Formosa. Oh boy, this is a hard one. It's like Shui Shalian, I think. I probably butchered that, but I think that's how you spell it. Oh, let me, so this is most standard stubs that you get with pens are 1.1. So this is a 0.6, which, you know, I mean, different measurements on different pens vary, but this is really kind of a nice middle ground, I think, for a stub. That's why I really like it. All right, and here is the River City Pen Company, and this one does not post, so that one's gonna go off to the side. Actually, did I post? I don't think I've posted the Birmingham Pen Company pen, but it can actually post. It's a little awkward, but it can post. All right, let me make sure you can still see. So this is the River City, oops. River City Pen Company. Water Lily Koi. I can hear a lot of feedback, which is interesting. I don't quite know. So this is a Palladium fine nib. And this is what I'm actually including in this little section as my medium-ish nib. So this is what I'm considering my broader nib. This is considered my medium nib. Even though it's a fine, it's a very wet flowing nib. And then even though this seems really, really dark, it is actually Pilot Iroshizuku Yamabudo. My bottle is fairly old of Yamabudo, so I don't know although I have used a fair amount of it there, but I still have plenty left. Normally this is a little bit brighter, I would say. I mean, this almost looks sort of like a blood red. But it's nice. I have to say, you know, of the ones I've just written with, this might actually be not as great as some of the other ones. All right, and then we have this Signature Pen Company. This one also does not post. Just barely made it here. Let's see, Signature. Oh, love this one. Pen Company with a micro architect from the nib grinder. Love this nib. I don't know what it is. I just really love the style. So there's that. And then this is Sailor Studio. Oops, put the dash on the wrong letter. Studio 262. And you can see what a fine line you can get when going down, and it's a really nice size that way. And you can hear it going on the paper, but it's still super lovely. I love it a lot. All right, so that is it. So this is what I'm going to be writing with for the foreseeable future. Like I said, wow, that palladium nib really puts down a ton of ink. It is still really super wet, whereas this one is already dry. Yamabudo is a wet ink though, so I'll give it a little bit of leeway for that. But yeah, that is definitely putting down a lot of ink. I will definitely need blotting paper when I'm writing with that one. So that is the M800 broad. Sailor 1911 medium, so broad, medium, and then fine with the Pilot Custom Heritage 92. If you're looking for a very smooth fine, these Pilot fine nibs are amazing. Unless you get a dud, but I haven't heard of many people getting a dud. This was just right out of the box, beautiful for me. And then we have this Opus 88. With a broad cursive italic, so that's my broad in this selection here, and then this Esterbrook SD Blueberry with the vintage 2668 nib, which is sort of like a medium, I mean, compared to the other two, and then the Bennu Minima with a fine nib, and then here the Birmingham Pen Company Barbados with the 0.6 stub, which actually the line weight is not that much bigger than with the fine palladium nib on this River City Pen Company Water Lily Koi, and then this Signature Pen Company with a Micro Architect nib from the nib grinder. All right, well, there's that. I will put a link down below to I'm trying to think which ones do I actually want to put links to. I think I'll probably just put links to the hand-turned pen companies and the nib grinder because, you know, want to give them some business, right? But the mainstream pens, I'll just let you find those on your own. All right, well, that's all I had for you today. Feel free to subscribe to keep track of future videos on my channel. I will keep you posted on this and how I'm doing. Basically, what my plan is to have this handy at my desk, and I'll just write with it whenever I'm going to write with a pen. I'll pick one for the current situation and go with that. So I think I've picked a really nice variety that will allow me to not get bored with the 9 pens. I mean, 9 pens seems like a lot, but I have a ton of pens. But I think I have a good variety. All right, well, I hope to see you next time, but in the meantime, have a great day. Thanks so much. Bye.